joy it is to get to be here with you and my brother Andy.
You guys don't look anything alike.
We recently auditioned for something, and it was out of the blue. Somebody contacted us, had to find us on the internet, look at us, and then say, would you guys like to audition for identical twins?
So you've come onto this ridiculous podcast.
That's true.
Reanimate's podcast.
Guilty.
Where we talk about the strange and wondrous filmography of Jeffrey Combs.
That's right.
I am of the suspicion that you guys didn't know much about Jeffrey Combs before you watched this film.
I would argue that I still don't know anything about him. I actually don't. I'm not 100% sure which character he played in this film, and I'm looking forward to finding out.
I obviously... we had online discussions before where I was like, I couldn't tell you what he looked like even after looking at multiple photos of him. I couldn't nail down. He looks so different in every photo.
Yes.
But I gotta say, after this movie, I've become a real Combs head. Yeah.
Combs head.
Combs heads. One of my favorite Dan Aykroyd films.
Yeah.
Combs heads.
But yeah, I had no idea. I didn't watch a lot of Star Trek. So I didn't know about him from that, but I've seen the photos now. I've seen him blue. I've seen him brown.
Wow.
I've seen him all shades of the rainbow.
He's a chameleon.
Absolutely.
So are you going to watch Star Trek and stuff as well? Is that part of the remit of this podcast?
Yep. I haven't actually outlined the rules for this in any of the past episodes, but so far the rules are pretty much just going to be, it has to be a film where his character has a name, and he has to be on screen for more than 5 minutes. So the film that you guys... the film that we're doing today is Fortress from 1992. Arguably one of the more famous ones. Possibly because it was directed by Stuart Gordon, who... Jeffrey Combs has worked with Stuart Gordon a lot, Reanimator, From Beyond, a million other things. The writers of this, Troy Neighbors and Steven Feinberg, didn't really do much, but they did do Fortress 2 in 2000, which also starred Christopher Lambert, who is the lead in this.
Yes. Also known as the Highlander guy.
Yes. That is what most people would know him from. Rightly so, because Highlander... not unlike Reanimator, is one of the best films of films.
When I realised it was the Highlander guy, because when I first started watching this film, I thought maybe that guy was Jeffrey Combs. And I was like, Combs. And then I was like, wait a sec, no, I've seen him somewhere before. You wouldn't choose to put on this accent as part of your character. And then I thought, I think I've seen him in another film that Lisa loves. I realised what beautiful synergy this film must represent for you.
Oh, yes. I mean, even if I didn't have to watch it on assignment, I watch this film quite regularly because, I mean, the meeting of Combs and Lambert.
Absolutely.
If only they'd kiss. What?
Don't spoil the ending. Would you say, so you would say Highlander is your top film outside of the Combs verse?
One of my top films, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Highlander man, I've already forgotten his name.
Christopher Lambert. He plays John Brennick, who I'll refer to as John because it's easier to say than his surname.
Absolutely. Is there a chance that he's not a good actor?
No, Alasdair. I think you're factually wrong. I mean, I feel like you're generally smarter than me, but on this, I'm afraid you're incorrect.
But I think it's an interesting line of inquiry, and let's not squash it straight away. While you're probably right in pointing out it contains no truth in and of itself, it might lead us to a deeper truth.
All right, I'll allow it.
And I would like... because, that's something that occurred to me as well. Casually, Lisa. It crossed my mind. Why would he have a film career when there are so many other people trying to? Is it because he looks pretty? Or his body is appealing in some way? Or does he have some other sort of, I don't know, like a magical ring that allows him to wish for things like roles in movies?
I would argue that Christopher Lambert has the same essence in a film that you find when you watch, say, a Jeffrey Combs, a Nick Cage. They're entertaining.
Yeah.
And they're interesting to watch. I mean, Nick Cage, for all of his... for his very interesting career he's had. Sometimes he's in a film and he's not necessarily a quote-unquote good actor in the perhaps academic terms, if you want to be if you want to be Shakespearean about it.
Yeah.
You know, but he's entertaining to watch.
You know what? I'm actually, you've converted me 100% to that line of thinking. You know, and you know, I have very strong beliefs. Usually, it's the last opinion I've heard.
I know, you really dig your heels in.
Yeah.
I strongly believe in the last thing I've been told.
Yeah. But yeah, I completely agree, and that's Nick Cage is that kind of thing. And I'm gonna say Lambert now takes this same position for me, because I do enjoy looking at him.
He's got a good face.
You know, and then I do find what he's doing strange, and the way that he talks, I see no reason for it.
Well, it's the same thing when you watch an action movie with an Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and nobody ever in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie draws attention to the fact that he is definitely not from America.
Yeah.
And no one ever draws attention to his incredibly strong accent. And it's the same in any movie with Christopher Lambert. Nobody brings it up, certainly in Highlander, where he's meant to be playing a Scottish person.
Yeah.
It would have been weird to write that in. I mean...
And he was playing it alongside a Scottish person.
Who was also not playing a Scottish person, but was Scottish anyway. Yeah, that's my favourite thing about Highlander is you get in Sean Connery, one of the most well-known Scottish actors, the most Scottish actor, and you say, hey, can you play a sort of Egyptian?
I thought he was Spanish.
Yeah, well, he was Egyptian, but he worked for, you know, a king of Spain or a metallurgist of Spain.
Got it.
But he also had lived for like 7,000 years, so he'd moved around a lot.
And that affects your accent.
It does. When you're immortal, your accent changes. Don't you know anything about science?
Yeah.
This movie, back to the film, it actually did okay.
Yeah, I looked up some data.
Mm-hmm.
It was made for a budget of like $11 million.
Yeah, $12 million, and it made $48 million, which I don't know if that's astounding for movies, but
that's a lot of millions.
Yeah, that's like a 4x. I mean, you know, on that.
Like a beer?
No, a 4x.
They're quite expensive these days.
Yeah, you can get 2 or 3 of those for that much.
You know, they multiplied their money by 4 on the return on investment.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
At least 4.
Yeah, at least 4. And then, what year was this? Where this was like this would have been a big blockbuster at the time?
Yeah. I mean, it's 92, so it would have been after the sort of 92. So it would have been after the sort of 80s.
It feels older.
Peak.
It feels like an 80s film.
Yes, yeah.
It's very. It gave me strong RoboCop vibes, and like this was made like five years after RoboCop, but it's got that real sense of like it. I guess just what movies used to be like, of like, this is, what's that one, Total Recall and all that kind of stuff. Like there was a
big
lot of
concepts.
that kind of vibes.
Big concepts, big dystopian ideas.
No, I was just meaning like people's guts exploding.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, I would argue that still happens in films. This film was shot in Queensland, as you can very easily tell whenever they do exterior shots.
Well, I loved at the end when they drive through a sign that like needlessly says like Mexico border or something like that. Like that didn't feel necessary. They drive through a fence that seems to be taken to the Mexico border, and it just looks, it's just gum trees.
There's like a shack and a bunch of rusty tools.
Honestly, until then, it had never occurred to me that this film was set in Australia. And then they drove out there, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yep.
Except for the appearance of Warwick Capper,
very,
very early on in the movie.
Yeah. So I'll put a picture of this on the socials, but there's a couple of fleeting shots in a crowd scene where you see just Warwick Capper just hanging out. He doesn't get a line. He barely gets a shot. I mean, I had to kind of pause it, and it was only by virtue of his very long, beautiful blonde hair that I even saw him in the background to begin with. So we open on the US border. Apparently this film is meant to be set in 2017. Don't know if that affects your reaction to it.
One of the designs on that upside down kind of camera thing that travels through the
fortress,
through the fortress, and looking into all everybody's cells and stuff like that. I thought the design of that one thing, I was like, they got that perfect about the future.
That's pretty bang on.
Yeah, the molding of the like the way that the cameras go into that kind of weird semi-spherical shape with the indentation in it.
Half an egg.
Perfect.
So we meet John, Christopher Lambert and his wife Karen, who's
Karen. What a name.
whose future name. She's played by Lauren Lachlan, who hasn't done a huge amount. She was a regular in Jag.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah.
I thought she was pretty good.
No, she is doing a good job. Yeah. They're fleeing to Canada, and my favorite thing about so far in this dystopian world is that they've gone with barcodes as identification, for people, which I don't think would work in reality.
Yeah.
Because you'd end up having a situation like where you're at Coles and you can't quite scan the thing and you have to call the attendant over. And it's like, I'm just trying to get my license renewed and my wrist barcode isn't working.
Yeah.
You have
I
to...
put on a bit of weight over lockdown and suddenly my barcode doesn't scan.
Oh, it's stretched out. Oh, no.
Yeah, or I got a mole or something like growing on there.
Yeah, and if you don't, is it like tattooed? Because, really fine lines are really hard to, they smudge in a tattoo and stuff.
But she also has, some kind of thing around her neck, right? They
Yes.
call it the flak jacket, sort of, and this lets people know that she's actually had a baby already. She had one baby, and that means that she's not allowed to have another baby, and she's not allowed to go to Canada.
Yes, so as they're trying to flee, Karen is wearing what I guess we're meant to infer is a jacket that covers up your pregnancy, because in this dystopian world, everyone is only allowed one child.
And if you try to have another, even if you get pregnant,
Yep.
they lock you up.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
if your child has died, even their child has died, their first child,
Yeah.
they
Yep.
still can't even get pregnant again.
And abortion is illegal. It's a recipe for disaster, I
Yes.
reckon.
Or maybe you just get, somebody has a baby, you give all the guys a vasectomy.
Yeah.
No,
No?
that's illegal.
No. That seems crazy. It's just not like, oh yeah, well I'm not gonna get that fixed, but we'll go to jail.
Yeah.
This first bit of the film, just where they're going through that checkpoint, I thought, this looks so cheap. If that looked like it had just been shot in a shed with some spray painted bits of plywood up in the background, and my initial thought was this is going to be a really low budget film, and everything's going to look sort of dinky and just like it's been made out of cardboard. But really, that first shot of the film is the cheapest, crappiest bit of the entire film.
It's not indicative. It's also pretty quick. It's just meant to introduce you to the world that they are trying to escape, because unfortunately, whatever inspection Karen manages to fool whatever inspection device it is, but then one guard sees her jacket, and they are chased by dogs. John is quite viciously attacked by a dog.
Quite a long scene of him just getting bitten and blood kind of spurting, and then
and you
bitten again.
You don't see the result of those what looks like hideous injuries later.
No, he's actually being torn apart by that dog.
Yeah.
So Stuart Gordon is like a real kind of body horror kind of type guy.
Oh yes.
Right, and this is him doing a more sci-fi kind of thing, and you could see that he's all right, I was good through that entire opening scene. I didn't show anybody getting their guts exploded, and then now I get to have a little treat. We'll have one little dog attack, and then I'll just do sci-fi again for ages, guys.
Stuart Gordon can have a little bit of a gore as a treat.
As a treat.
Now, in this beginning, maybe I didn't properly hear their conversation, but I felt like the first two main actors,
John and Karen,
I thought they were colleagues, and I thought that he was like her.
That's the chemistry. That's
was
the amazing chemistry.
Yeah, it kind of felt like he was like her general, and she was like a mercenary or something like that.
Well, yes, because it's because she calls him captain, I think, at one point, and they did meet when he was her superior in the army.
Right.
Yes.
And he likes her to still call him captain.
Yeah. So
who wouldn't?
That comes up a little bit, and later you find out that she was a computer technician in the army, and we find out a little bit of John's prowess later. But for now, him and a bunch of other prisoners are being taken to the fortress, like the name of the film.
I didn't realise that. That's good.
Which is a an underground, privately owned.
That's a little Easter egg for people who are really paying attention.
They're taken to an underground, privately owned prison, How dystopian. Imagine people having private interests in a prison. What a world that would be, right?
The Mentel Corporation.
Yeah.
Great name for a sci-fi evil corporation.
Is it meant to be, do you think, a pun on mental?
Maybe.
I hope so. That's a good pun.
Yeah.
I wonder how many two-syllable evil corporation words there are. Like, there could be,
Okay.
Gore-Tel. Gore-Tech.
Bon-10.
This is the only reason they stopped making these movies. Is they thought they'd run out of names, but there are heaps more.
Soul-Fi.
Kim Porg.
Plan-Tech.
Schlap-Flick.
Con-Bar.
Coin-Bar.
Beef Hand.
Beef Hand Corporation.
Oh no. Oh no, you'd think that they were like a really dastardly corporation, but they just make beef hands.
We're just a run-of-the-mill family beef hand shop.
No, not beef feet. How dare you?
Oh, we just make beef hands.
My father was a beef hander before me.
And I just went into thought, I'll go into beef hands myself.
Anyway, John is given 31 years. That's ages.
It's a long time.
That's fair.
So then we meet prison director Poe, who's played by Kurtwood Smith, who's in a million sci-fi movies. He is so good. Yeah, he's the thing I always recognize him from usually is Total Recall.
But he was also in RoboCop, and he was in that '70s show.
That '70s show, yes. That's where the kids know him from.
The director of the thing. I thought that was Jeffrey Combs.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
All this time.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it going to be fun when we find out who it is?
Oh no!
Because you came into this saying, I think I've got a real good handle on what he looks like.
I've got a real good. So the director isn't Jeffrey Combs?
No!
No!
Oh, this is going to be so good when you realise who this podcast is about.
No, man, this is interesting.
Twists and turns, revelations.
I did not realise this would be a journey for all of us.
Oh no.
Poe also does explain that really the main purpose of having the prisoners there at all is to continue to build the facility to house even more prisoners.
Which I like. That's nice and dystopian.
Yeah, that's real depressing.
And they're just digging. They're just digging
down into the ground.
Yeah, they just show a couple of scenes where they're
picking up big rocks.
Putting
them in a wheelbarrow.
Yep. That is just...
It's good to see that in the future of 2017, the ancient art of digging has not changed that much.
Poe explains that the prison can read their mind through Zed, which is, I guess, the sort of intelligence program that controls the prison.
10 or something like that?
Yeah, Zed is like a female voice, yes. And I guess one of her faculties would be the small egg cameras that follow the
That's right.
that move around the prison watching people, and
allow her to film their dreams.
Yes. So one of the many things that is dystopian and scary about this is that they can read your dreams, and most of these prisoners seem to be having sex dreams.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like we're mostly seeing John's dreams. Yeah. And he's having a sex dream about his wife every single night, and that's a good marriage
nice?
There.
It is. That's lovely that he's not being unfaithful to her in his dreams.
Absolutely.
He's like, my wife is still the hottest woman I can think of.
But then if you have a sex dream in your head, you get electrocuted. Or you get intestinated.
Yes, so what they've unfortunately done is given the prisoners intestinators, which are these small mechanical devices which go into their guts and can be either turned on to give them extreme pain or turned up even more to make them explode.
It's weaponized indigestion, isn't it?
Yes. I imagine it's an incredibly bad bellyache.
An alternative name for this film could have been Total Reflux.
You actually made the sound of reflux.
That's the thing. A really good pun gives you the sort of feeling of like heartburn. You know.
It's an intestination.
So yes, and never fear, guys. You will see someone intestinate very soon. The fortress kind of looks like the colony in Ants, I think.
I thought it was a really good set.
No,
I
it
liked
does. It just reminded me of the colony in Ants.
Yeah.
Did they build that whole thing? Because it looked insane.
I mean, they must have. I can't think of what on Movie World on the Gold Coast would look like that. I don't know. What does Waterworld look like? I've never been there.
Yeah, I don't know whether those big shots where you see up this huge sort of central tunnel.
I'm so sorry. Wet and Wild.
Wet and Wild.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's
Please
okay.
continue, Al.
Yeah, I wonder whether or not that's just a small model. Do you ever see actual people in that tiny little...
Felt like often you got to see things going up and down. You saw out the side, people walking around the different levels.
Yeah.
But maybe it was you only sort of see a couple of levels really ever at a time. I guess they wouldn't have built the entire massive thing, but it looked good.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the best looking bits.
Yeah. So John is bunked in with a bunch of different prisoners.
It's a ragtag band.
It is a ragtag. Everyone's very different. So firstly, we meet Gomez, who is, I would say a little bit of a Mexican stereotype.
Yeah.
You know, I think later he says, if you explode like a burrito, then we're not going to have anything to do. It's like,
do burritos explode?
exactly. I don't think you'd look like a burrito after you're intestinated. That's just what a white person thinks a Mexican person would say.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe like sometimes if you overstuff a burrito, then things like burst out of the sides of the burrito.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
like
is that,
when you're holding it and it sort of splits in the middle.
there is kind of that moment where they arrive in the prison, on the actual floor of the prison, and like in front of them is like, there's a group of African Americans, and then there's a group of Latinos, and then they go, and they use that as a way of going, this is going to be a tough place to handle.
This is
Like
what
that.
happens
Yeah.
in prison,
And you go, oh, okay.
as is my understanding.
Sure.
Gomez is played by an actor called Clifton Collins Jr., but who is credited as Clifton Gonzalez Gonzalez. So he has two surnames. We also meet some others. We meet Abraham, who's a sort of older African-American gentleman played by Lincoln Kilpatrick.
Nice face.
Yes, strong, sad features.
I would say he was the strongest actor.
Yeah,
Yes.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we meet Maddox, who's played by Vernon Wells, and we also play D-Day, who's played by Jeffrey Combs.
Wait,
He's the one with the long hair, right?
The
long hair and the big
The
glasses.
long hair and the big glasses, the kind of stoner
Oh,
guy.
hey, man.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, whoa.
There you go.
I was watching it and I go, I wonder what happened to that actor.
He's good. Someone should do a podcast
I
about
like that
him.
guy.
Yeah, so
And
that's...
he looks quite unpleasant in that role.
Well, yes, so everyone has different personalities, as you can imagine.
That's how you can tell it's a good film, good writing,
Yeah.
and good acting. Give the characters different personalities.
Well, they've all got very, very starkly... So in terms of your lineup of stereotypes, D-Day, Jeffrey Combs' character is, I guess, a sort of burnt-out stoner acid type, who's also... who's the character... There's actually a Muppet in Sesame Street, I think, that's almost exactly like this character, who just loves to, like, explode things.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's a little Muppet that has, like, bags under his eyes, and he's always blowing things up with TNT.
Dynamite guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know his name
that's who
either,
he
but-
reminds me of.
Yeah.
And Maddox, unfortunately, is the sort of the psychopathic rapist.
He would be the neo-Nazi kind of.
Yeah. He makes a few untoward gestures to our friend Gomez, and it's deeply unpleasant.
Yeah.
Oh, you skipped the bit where they all have to get naked.
Yeah.
Didn't feel it was necessary, Auntie, did you?
Didn't notice it?
But, you know, it was very progressive. I thought it was like, there's a fair bit of sort of dick shots in there. You know,
Yeah.
something
Oh, yeah.
about the late 80s, early 90s. They still allowed that in
They were
film.
pushing that boundary. They're like, let's see if this is where movies are going to go.
Yeah,
with
like
more
that.
dick shots.
And even in one of his dreams, his sex dreams, he get a little bit of ball in there.
Yeah.
Do you?
Scrotum,
See the
yeah.
ball. I mean, I was watching this like on the train, on my phone, and then different places. I was quite uncomfortable during some of the sexy bits that people would see what I was watching and say, "This man's watching a sexy thing," and then I get intestinated.
I do not remember seeing balls in that scene.
I just remember seeing a kind of a ball bag of sorts.
Wow.
Sort of in
So you saw the bag.
Well-
Well, you didn't see any balls.
I didn't see like a sort of a ball outside of the bag.
No, you so rarely do,
But,
unfortunately.
I mean, like, like a ball bag in its more compact form rather than sort of loose and hanging. You know, when they kind of get a more spherical look.
When they get firm.
Yeah, when they get more firm like that. When they thicken up, I think, to sort of protect from the cold.
Yeah. D-Day explains to John about the process. Another horrible thing they do in this dystopian future prison is being the process of being mind wiped, where I guess they just spin you around a lot until your brain goes a bit bad.
Kind of like a gyroscopy kind of thing, but it can erase your entire person. And we see a guy who kind of looks all bedraggled and pale, and he's got long hair, and he's apparently they call him a ghost because he's had his mind wiped. And he's just walking around, people drinking water out of his backpack.
Yeah, it's a gyroscope is good. I just in my notes I just wrote that thing they put astronauts in.
Yeah, which can't be scientific, right?
I mean, I feel like if you put me in that for 4 days, I'd be pretty fucked up.
No, but I mean, like even when NASA puts people in that, you go, what are you learning from that?
What can you learn from spinning?
Yeah.
Who knows?
But
a lot.
I mean, I tell you what, I would vomit all over the place. Even in the slightest. I don't know why. Age has made me so sensitive to motion.
Oh no, I'm the same. I whenever I think about when I was a kid and I used to go onto that, that thing in the park where it's like a big cup and you sit in it and you steer it from the inside and it goes around really fast, and sometimes an adult comes by and spins it even faster for you. When I think about going on that as an adult, I get a migraine.
Man, I have been on things like that, or I've just rolled on the ground trying to escape my child in a game, and I've been dizzy for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So this is my theory, right? Because I have a theory about this. Yeah. Which is that, like, evolutionarily speaking, when we were children, we just had to be very used to being grabbed and carried around by our family as they ran fleeing from monsters and that sort of thing. So, like, as a child, evolutionarily, you don't have that sort of dizziness reflex, and it also corresponds to the fact that you don't have an expectation about what movement should be like. And then as you get older, you have these really clear expectations of, like, when I walk, I will go forwards in a straight line. And it gets ingrained into your brain. And then when that gets disturbed, your brain is really unhappy because all your expectations are getting... I
think that's a really good theory, Andy.
Yeah.
I think
it doesn't feel very well formed.
No, it seems perfect. I think it's really close to probably what the truth is.
I'm not going to look up what the truth is. I'm just going to go with that. John is described as the most decorated captain in the history of the Black Beret.
Yeah.
I don't think the Black Beret is a real thing. I assume it's made up for the film.
It could be so secret though that you wouldn't be informed. It's above your sort of your pay grade.
No, I know everything about the American Army. Thank you very much.
So Green Berets are like they're a Marine group or something like that. They go and do for that exists.
That's like SAS, I think.
Yeah.
But Black Berets, I'm pretty sure that's just French people.
I think you're right.
And he is French, right?
He is, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they made him change it.
Christophe Lambert.
Oh.
Would be his real name.
That's true. So you can do the accent better.
Christophe Lambert.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
So now we get the expectation that alright, he can handle himself.
Yes.
Because before up until then, we just thought he was just some schmo. But now we know that you don't want to cross our boy.
He's not just a good soldier. He's the best soldier in the history of the world.
Yeah. I know. It's a kind of a classic thing that they go to in movies, right? Where they go, like, just to kind of make the movie more interesting, they do just go, ah, yes, and by the way, this guy used to be a killer. And now he's just leading a regular life. Ah, but don't test him. And now they do test him, and now he can...
Or his training will come out, you see.
Exactly.
We also find out that Karen is in the fortress as well. So the fortress has a couple of floors that are dedicated to the female population.
But doesn't seem equal again.
Exactly. There's only like 2 floors for the women prisoners, and the rest of it is all for the male prisoners. So he explains a little bit about the world that they live in here, which is that due to overpopulation, that's where the one-child rule comes from.
It's interesting when we bust out of those gates at the end. It doesn't seem like there's many people around.
No, you would argue it's a pretty desolate landscape.
Yeah. Could do with a bit more population as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there's all that space for population. Put them out there. People live in Queensland, don't they? John gets into
There
a...
is space, but it's all in Queensland, so nobody wants to live there.
No, it's so humid.
So
Everywhere
instead of
else
that,
is
we'll have
grand.
a one-child policy.
Yeah.
All right, sounds fair.
It's too hot.
Is this all Queensland, people?
John and a guy called Stiggs, who is not Stephen Root in real life, get into a fight. Poe wants to test John and he orders him to kill him, and John refuses. That's how you know he's a good guy.
Now, this is a guy who's supposed to be, like, he's the worst guy, right? He's the worst guy in the whole prison.
Yes, he has a number...
Super rapist.
Yes. He has a number carved into his head that's meant to, I think, be a signifier of his being a murderer.
Right, because when he's originally referred to as the guy who has some number carved into his head, and then you see him and it just looks like he's got texture on his forehead.
Yep.
I was like, oh, this guy looks much sillier, and he is the most extreme actor in the whole thing.
He's terrifying.
Yeah, well, yeah, but everything is just like a huge, like he must be a wrestler or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't look him up. I should have, but I'm going to assume he does a lot of similar roles of equally scaring content.
And this is a fight that goes on for a long time. This is the main fight where I was like, oh, whoa, yeah, this is yucky to watch. And I think in a way it's probably a relatively realistic depiction of what two guys fighting each other to the death would look like. Perhaps. I
mean, look, having now watched a lot more fighting,
MMA stuff.
Yeah, I reckon it doesn't necessarily get quite as gory, but like maybe if you're just smashing some guy's head against the concrete or something like that.
They do that in MMA? Is that one of the styles?
No, but there is like
Concrete
no.
head
I don't
smash?
think you can do that. But I think you can sort of just kneel on somebody and ground and pound them.
Ugh.
But then in a sport like that, there is a ref to stop when somebody is unconscious.
It is interesting that like it's this super prison where like we can watch your dreams, we can electrocute your guts. We've got sort of cyborg robot guards. But like we still let the prisoners just sort of stand around pumping weights and then bash each other. We give them pickaxes and that sort of thing, which are basically, intense murder weapons.
Yeah, they do seem to spend a lot of time just faffing about. I didn't think there was a lot of room for faffing about in maximum prison.
Yeah, and everybody's loosey goose.
I mean, my friend who was in prison says that it was just a lot of TV watching and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you have fight with your roommate because they say, oh, they want to watch something, and you say, nah, forget, nah.
No,
and they
so
say,
it's
oh,
just
you're
like...
standing over me, and then you got to go into protection.
Oh no.
So it's just like siblings, sort of.
And it's just like siblings.
Stiggs gets intestinated, and John, in his amid his blood and viscera, he finds the mechanism for the intestination, and he thinks, I'm having that. He's like, that'll be useful somehow.
Pretty interesting, pretty good gut exploding special effect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a good hole there.
Yeah.
Well, because he didn't just get gut exploded. I think he had a gun shot. That weird special big gun shot at his.
Yeah, there was I think some sort of a laser gun of some sort.
Yeah.
A future gun. Yeah.
Man, you know what I love the most about this movie is that it got made, because it's so silly and it's so high concept, and it is mostly like most of the things that people say are just explaining the concept.
Yeah, there's a lot to explain.
And the fact that can get made gives me hope that maybe one day I could get something dumb made.
One day you will get your dystopian future prison movie made, Al, and we'll all be there to cheer you on.
Was there a voiceover? I can't remember.
No.
Right.
No.
It felt like there was.
Ah, yeah.
You're thinking of the computer, or you're thinking of maybe like one of your children who was watching the film with you. Poe makes a deal with Karen, where she will allow John to be taken out of the mind wipe chamber if she moves into his quarters with him.
Yeah, it's gross.
Yeah.
Poe's gross. Poe's watching a lot of people having sexy dreams and getting a little bit jazzed on it, and now he wants a lady friend.
But also his computer's giving him a hard time, going, why, you seem to be enjoying this. He's like, shut up, computer.
Nag.
I know.
Lady computer's always nagging you.
Telling you to stop watching people's sexy dreams.
Yeah, his little room where he watches, that's like his man cave. Poe just sits in his little pod and watches dream porn all day, argues with Zed, and that's where we find out that Karen was a computer technician, because she's very intrigued by the whole Zed setup. Although we later find out that Poe even though he's watching all of these sexy dreams, he's probably not masturbating because he's probably not really technically human. Karen wakes up in the night and sees that he's sort of attached to a bunch of electrodes. And
getting fed through a pipe. Great.
Yeah. He describes himself as enhanced, and he says that once a month he absorbs amino acids.
So
Does that work?
I mean, I feel like that's plausible. So amino acids are the building blocks of all the proteins in our body, right? So what we build ourselves out of is amino acids. When you eat food, your body breaks proteins and things down into their component amino acids and then rebuilds them together into the things that you need for your body to grow. And if you had just loose amino acids pre-broken down, sort of pre-digested in a tub, I guess you could pour that straight into your guts and it would be all right. So it checks out. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, this will definitely happen.
But then this being enhanced thing, it almost seems like, as we discover later on, that he just can't be hurt. There's a part where Karen is holding broken glass and just stabbing him in the back
repeatedly,
and nothing happens.
Yeah,
he's just like, huh?
Yep. Yeah,
it couldn't fix male pattern baldness.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the perfect specimen.
Yeah.
In the future, everyone is slightly balding.
And this is the bit that we like. This I was like, oh. Was when you find out that he is one of the children the unwanted children who get taken away, get grown up to be
enhanced
individuals, which I don't think even really makes sense with the timeline of when this film was made versus when it's supposedly set, because he's at least 40 in this film, and if it's set in 2017 and made in 1992, there's not enough time.
Yeah, I guess it's in a sort of parallel universe where the dystopia starts so much earlier in the timeline.
Yeah, I mean, I would have just set my dystopia a bit later and just made it all.
Just go nuts. Set it for, I don't know, year 3000. Who cares? No one's paying attention. Yeah, so that's sort of the kicker of the prison, is that they take the babies of any pregnant female prisoners and make them enhanced, which I guess is sort of like mostly immortal.
But also,
blue blood.
She's like, "You're not even human, are you?" Like that. Like, I don't think if I ever met people who were not human, they were just some weird version. I don't think I don't have some allegiance to humans. I'm like, no, I'm only talking to you if you're human. I was like, I'm be very happy to meet somebody who's different in some kind of computer or genetically enhanced way.
Or animals.
Yeah, or animals. I don't mind them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've seen this man like kill and torture everybody in his prison, and now he's imprisoning you, and presumably got all sorts of sick desires, but then you find out he's not even human now. Okay, well that crosses a line.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And then later I found out he's not even Jeffrey Combs.
Boo!
Oh!
Turn it off, walk out of the house. A few months pass. John's hair is way too long for the amount of time that has passed. That's just a fun little anachronism.
I didn't even notice.
His hair is too long.
Does his hair get longer?
Yeah. His hair is so much longer.
When his mind was wiped, I think apparently 4.5 months go by.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I cottoned onto that eventually. I did not notice that his hair had changed.
It's so much longer.
What? It's crazy.
Karen, in their quarters, so she's quite visibly pregnant now. She gives Poe some champagne, which obviously he's never had before. He doesn't need to eat and drink. And he goes out like a fucking light. He has like, what, 2 sips?
But he loves it.
He loves it. He's like, oh.
It was interesting.
New and different.
After we found out that he was like a baby that had been raised by the corporation to be an enhanced thing, I sort of just regarded him as a little baby. From that point on, I was just like, oh, you're just a little baby. Because he hasn't had any kind of social development or anything, right? He's never left we find out he's never left these quarters.
Yeah, who taught him like English and walking and all that stuff? The computer?
Got it all from books.
Yeah.
Walking 101.
Yep. How to be evil.
Yeah, I wonder if walking you could learn from a pamphlet. It's sort of,
yeah.
Like, I mean, kids basically, they do figure it out without anything. So maybe
you've got a baby, so you could test that out. You could just be
you
like,
know what, you're right.
I'm
just
gonna
put him
get
in a box with a bunch of pamphlets.
Yeah. There you go, kid. You learn.
I guess what you have to do is you have to prevent him from being able to learn naturally.
Yep.
So maybe not let him be in a place that's high enough to stand up.
Yep.
But give him a pamphlet and see if he can learn how to walk while laying down.
Yeah, the pure walking theory
Yeah.
for the first 5 years of his life.
Yeah.
Don't tell him anything about it. Do not let his brother show him.
And then show him the third dimension.
No, it'll be good because you already have another child, so that'll be like the control subject.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. And he's walking without a pamphlet.
He's nailing it.
So we've proven it can be done without pamphlets. That's good. That's one data point.
But we want to see if maybe pamphlets could somehow stop it from happening.
So Karen sneaks in to work on Zed. I guess she wants to just figure out how to let everyone free. Poe does eventually wake up, and thankfully he doesn't catch her.
And she's able to do some sort of cool virtual mental thing to drag John out of his brain dead.
Walking coma, yeah. So she's able to get into his dreams somehow. And she's able to create a metaphor as well.
Yeah.
So she's able to create the situation in his dream where she is rescuing or reaching down to a child John and pulling him out of the hole.
She must be a great computer programmer.
Yeah.
That like she could get in there. And first of all, it looks like the hole from Silence of the Lambs.
That's
Same
true.
hole.
So it could be the same hole. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe it's a. I don't know if the one is a Queensland hole.
It's a popular Queensland hole. Yeah.
The popular Queensland. I recognize that hole from anywhere. It's a Queensland.
They later filled it in and made that beach in Brisbane.
Ah, yes, the old beach hole. But the fact, she gets in there. She straight away knows how to work a dream machine.
Yep.
And she gets in there. She creates a metaphor. She pulls him out, and that works. And he wakes up, and he's now a conscious being. His mind is unwiped.
Snapped right out of it.
She was the most decorated computer programmer in the history of the Black Berets.
Of the Black Berets.
Yeah, yeah. She actually, weirdly, a weird coincidence, she specialized in dreams.
She'd read that
Little
Freud book.
Little boy dream dragging. That was her PhD.
They said it was too specific. Haha. So once he's back to normal, he is fucking mad that Karen is living with Poe. Obviously, he's mad at Poe, not Karen. He's determined to escape. John gives D-Day the intestinator. That's Jeffrey Combs, Al. That's D-Day. He's Jeffrey Combs.
This is the intestinator from out of the guts of the evil guy.
And he's like, I want you to tell me how this works so that we can get him out of us. And D-Day is so happy about it. He's so excited about this little machine thing.
Because he was like, I was an explosives guy. I love fiddling with stuff. Great, take it apart, put it back together, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, his back. We don't find out everyone's backstory, but his backstory is that he organized a robbery, a bank robbery with some friends, and he was like the explosive guy. And he's like, yeah, I took out the whole building, man. It was great. And they're like, how'd you get caught? And he's like, oh, my accomplices dobbed me in because I blew up the money.
That's a little joke.
Yeah,
that's just
a little bit of fun.
Yeah. Hey, he can do comedy as well.
Yeah.
He is an incredibly versatile actor. John wants D-Day to figure out how to get them out. And I just, as I said, I love whatever Combs is doing here. It's kind of this burnt out guy. He's also got even bigger glasses than he would normally wear in a movie. Like his eyes are massive.
Yeah.
I would argue he has even a worse prescription than you, Andy.
Yeah, it's very possible. I was ordering glasses online yesterday and looking at how high the prescription goes. It goes way beyond. I thought I was right up the top of the list. You can punch in some pretty big numbers. And I normally don't believe in that thing in movies where somebody's really ugly and then you take off their glasses and then they're really hot. But when his glasses did fall off at the end of the movie and he's stumbling around because he can't see anything, I was like, you look a lot better.
He does.
He's actually a very handsome man.
Look, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that part of this as well? We sort of rate how hot Combs is in the film.
Well,
Combs.
Well, look, let's not be shallow. It's not integral to his performance how attractive he is. But in a lot of movies, he's incredibly hot.
Doesn't hurt.
Sue me.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah. And I gotta say,
some of us want to fuck Herbert West. We exist.
I mean, look, if you were to rank all the prisoners in that cell, Combs is at least top 3.
Yeah.
So Karen steals this holographic crystal from Poe's quarters. The use of that, I think, as far as I can tell, is that it is a hologram of the plans of the fortress. It seems to beam out the plans and you can kind of interact with it, which, I mean, my only reference for this is like the big laser thing that they use in Futurama sometimes. I have no idea if this technology is even realistic.
No, it's not realistic.
You're pulling in reference points that don't really help you.
No.
The essential truth of it.
No, look.
It didn't strike me as being one of the more unrealistic things in the film. I think you could do that. You could grow a crystal so that it beams a little hologram. Sure.
But can you interact with that hologram in the way that you would interact with, say, like a touchscreen?
You're asking the tough questions. This is what makes you the great interviewer that will.
Yeah, they call me the Parky of podcasts.
First of all, I don't know how holograms work.
No.
So,
I have no idea either.
Yeah, and
they seem really weird.
Yeah, and my theory is that they don't, and it's some illusion, right?
Yeah.
So, but I would say that you can't have a crystal that you just put light through, and that light takes a shape midair, and that you can just see it in the regular air.
What? You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So that would be my assumption, and I don't, and because that's not possible, I don't think interacting with it is possible.
Because wouldn't a crystal just reflect the light, like the shape of the crystal?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's like if with a piece of glass, if it had some engraving.
You think we'd be spending this much time talking about this crystal?
I think
it's interesting.
If there was something like engraved in the like a piece of glass, I could imagine that you could project light through it, and that you could see that engraving on the wall or something like that. Or even if you had some smoke, you could maybe see it in the smoke.
But it would have to be flat.
Yeah, most likely. But I don't know. There's probably complex ways in which you could make it, but I don't know enough about that stuff. But I would say, but I don't think you would get a 3D image through a static. I don't think you would get a 3D image. Yeah.
I brought you on here because I thought you were a crystal and a hologram expert, Al.
A crystal hologram projectionist. And while that is my specialty, I don't know that much about it. That's only because I don't know that much about other things.
Yeah, it's only your specialty in comparison. Yeah. Well, so Karen steals it because she wants to give it to John so that they can plan their escape, and she's gotten Abraham in on this because Abraham works for Poe, so he comes in.
Shaved his little face.
Yeah. So Abraham.
With a cutthroat razor.
Yep.
So he gives to a prisoner.
Yeah. So many opportunities that Abraham had, and he didn't take them because he believes that Poe is going to parole him someday. We know Poe probably not going to do that. Poe also reveals that he doesn't actually intend to release John legitimately after his 31 years, but he will release John if Karen agrees to marry him and they raise John's child together.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
Isn't it nice?
That's a nice story. How did you guys meet?
Yeah.
Well, I was
Every family is different, Lisa.
I was a prison director. She was one of my inmates. I wanted to enhance her child. She said no. Women.
What's great about him is that he doesn't ever meet the in-laws or anything like that, so he doesn't have to have that awkward conversation about the power difference between the two of them.
I guess the fact that he's never left his quarters means that he doesn't have to introduce and explain to too many people. Thank God, because you're right, that would be orcs.
But also later on we find out that he says that she's not going to survive that operation to having a baby. So
yes.
He is just saying that to this lady. He doesn't even. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? That he's lying to her, even though he enjoys her company. He's lying to her.
No, I think in that he only sends her off to have the baby chopped out of her.
Oh, right.
With a fatal thing later on after she's annoyed him.
Okay, right.
But I think he did intend to allow her to, I guess, have a natural birth, maybe a water birth, and what they technically call survive.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I can see that then, yeah.
D-Day makes an amazing discovery that the intestinator is magnetized in some way, which means that you can use one intestinator to pull another intestinator out, up through the, what's this? I don't know, the
food pipe.
The food pipe. Yep.
Tummy tube.
Yep. Yeah. Just goes right up there. Because
because
what's before your intestines? stomach, and then
pipe.
it's pipe, and then throat.
Esophagus.
Yep, esophagus.
Throat, mouth.
Vomit pipe.
Yep.
Lips, and then the sweet open air.
Yeah. And then space.
Yes.
Where's-
the great beyond.
Where does bile come from?
Bile stomach.
No.
No?
Incorrect. Liver. It's made in the liver.
Pancreas.
Stored in the pancreas.
Stored in the pancreas, lives in the liver. Strong enough for a man, made for a woman.
So,
Strong
unfortunately,
enough for a man.
Maple for a woman. She's eating a tree.
unfortunately, there's a scene where we have to watch that happen.
Yeah. Again, good special effects. I don't know how they got that tummy lump thing working,
Yeah.
but it really looked like something was moving around in there.
Yeah, but it also looked like it hurt way more than you would think.
What? No, that would hurt heaps.
Yeah, just because it's like pushing right up against your stomach, I guess, because of the pressure. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And it's also metal, so it's metal coming up through.
And it's like bigger than a golf ball.
It's about the same size as a golf ball, I reckon.
About the same size. About the same size as a golf ball. That's what I reckon too.
I reckon a bit smaller than a golf ball. I don't think you
Smaller
could,
than a golf ball. Come on, Lisa. Tell him he's an idiot.
I don't think
Right
you could-
in.
I don't
Smaller
think,
than a golf ball.
Right in at Dibbo's mailbag. Crow's nest.
you could. I think that you couldn't forcibly make prisoners swallow golf balls. I just don't think that the entry hole to the vomit pipe is big enough.
I think it's possible.
Well, what they do is they don't really make you swallow it. They kind of shoot it down your throat, which means you have no choice, really.
No, I understand.
You don't think shooting something down somebody's throat counts as making them swallow it?
I didn't make you.
That's a little. I shot it down your throat.
Hey, I didn't make you do that.
It went down there of your own free will at a high velocity out of my gun, but I didn't.
Well, is it swallowing if, like, there's just... It just looked like there was so little of a swallowing mechanism. It just kind of went...
True.
It just kind of shot straight through the
Your
mouth.
Honor, technically,
Actually, you didn't use any of your
didn't
swallowing.
swallow it at all.
Any of your swallowing muscles.
Yep.
It doesn't even look like they lube it up. It just looks.
Bypass the throat
Yeah.
completely.
It just looks metallic. They put it in your mouth, and then suddenly it's
Chikook.
in your intestines.
Yep. It has quite the journey.
Mm.
So they
I'd
all...
like to see this movie from its perspective. Maybe Pixar could make it.
Yeah. It's called...
Intestinate.
And then I do a podcast about it called Intestinates.
There we go.
Intestimates.
Yeah, it's my podcast about the stomach. Yeah.
When we were trying to guess how big it was relative to a golf ball, that was estimates.
That's right.
I feel really proud of myself.
No, you're great. Good to have you, Andy.
Thanks, Lisa.
So, Zed shows Poe a video of Abraham and Karen stealing the crystal, and they're in big trouble.
Yes, because Poe, up until then, had sort of been on her side. And have we reached the point now where Zed tells Poe that he's lost his job? And
This is that point. This is that point. Yeah, this is where Zed fires him and says that Mentel will no longer require his services.
And they'll come and take him away.
Yep. So now I guess Poe is neither friend nor foe, really.
And we realise that he has, in his own simple way, been a prisoner himself this entire time because he has never left his quarters.
In a way, but in another way, he's also the prison director.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But Zed turns out, it's that thing. It's like behind every powerful or great man is a great woman, and you realize that she was running the show the whole time. This is like the Flintstones, you know.
She's the Wilma.
Yeah, she's the Wilma, and she's pulling the strings behind the thing.
Zed is a lot more sentient than I thought.
Yeah.
It really does sort of seem like there's a person there.
Yeah, it seems very powerful and very aware of stuff, but it can't tell who's using the computer when you're using the keyboard.
Yes, because when Karen uses it, she's not on voice command.
That's right.
So they have a pretty fiendish little plot, which I quite like, which is they take all of the exploding intestinators and they attach them to a big pipe. It's such a big pipe, guys.
Man-sized pipe.
It is a huge pipe.
When I did my first law review for for Monash, my first sketch comedy, anything like that, I tried to pitch a sketch which was basically people working in prison design, and whenever they're trying to describe how big any of the pipes are, the only thing that they can think to compare it to is about the number of men that could get down it. Anyway, it wasn't enough to the sketch to make it happen, but I think of it often.
I think that's actually really good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I would write that down if we were doing Two in the Think Tank.
Oh, hello. And yes, this is exactly one man-sized pipe.
Yes, yeah. I mean, they have to hunch a little bit to go down, but I suppose it depends on how tall you are. So I don't know what the pipe is meant to be. I don't know where it's meant to go.
Ventilation.
Well, I do know that...
But it seems to go horizontally, which isn't going to get them out of there, is it?
No.
You want to go up if you're trying to escape.
Oh, but if it's like if it's like a sewer pipe or something, which it isn't, but often they just are on a slight grade.
Grade. Yeah.
They're
going to be running for years.
Yeah.
Well, their fun little trick, which is, to put all the intestinaires on the pipe and then fake a fight so that they're all intestinated and it explodes. They manage to get through, and then once they start being chased, Stiggs panics and decides to surrender himself, and he is just killed immediately.
Yeah.
One down.
But also, you've skipped the fact that Poe, having lost his job and being confined to his room by Zed, bangs on the door and says, "Zed, they're escaping," and is immediately allowed back in control of everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's...
So...
Yeah, Zed can't really decide whether she needs him or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got...
Classic marriage
relationship dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, look, you guys both have wives. You know what they're like. 1 minute they're telling you to shut down the prison. Another minute they're telling you,
no, you in charge of the prison.
Exactly.
But it's the same thing with kids are the institution that you're in charge of, and if they're escaping, suddenly you're very important again.
It's all hands on deck. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what they say? Marriage isn't a word; it's a sentence.
I do like that.
Yes.
It is a prison, though, of sorts.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's the thing. Legally, I think you have to. You're not allowed to like your wife. I think if you're married, you're not supposed to get along with your wife. You're meant to dislike them. And
well, that's the way that expression "I love you, but I don't like you" comes from.
Classic marriage.
Awful? Was it truly awful?
Yeah.
My son started saying that as a way of trying to say that he actually loves us, and he's like, "I don't like you, I love you." And I'm like, you don't like me?
We have fun, don't we?
Come on, it's fun.
I mean, that's very cute.
Yeah. I think you should I like your mom, and I love her as well. Yeah. And I like you, and I love you. He's like, I don't like you, I love you.
Oh, that's very cute. But you can do both.
Yeah, you can do both.
Yeah.
And it's actually better too.
Yeah, I like Diet Coke, but I also love Diet Coke.
See, that's nice. Yeah. That's a healthy relationship.
Yeah, that's my version of having children.
Yes.
So they're back. Then they're trying to escape. Poe gets onto them straight away, turns on the steam in the pipes, and they're going to get burned by the steam. So their escape attempt is over like that, right? And then these guards start attacking them, and this is the first we've really seen of these guards, who are kind of like half human, half robot. They're a bit like the Borg from Star Trek. They're
amazing once their sort of helmets come off. So a guard chases them into the pipe, and the prisoners start attacking them. Yeah, they're sort of like half human, but sort of wired into their wired into their machinery. Like it kind of looks like they're carrying a big gun, but it's revealed that it's just part of their arm.
And they got that blue blood as well.
Oh yeah, you gotta have blue blood.
And I also felt a bit like, I reckon these are grown from little babies as well. And
they are. Yeah.
I thought of them as being babies as well.
Yeah, and then you realize that they're not all the babies become directors of prisons. No. Some of them just get sort of low down roles.
Yeah, some of them are just working class enhanced babies.
That's right. But I also think it's funny that their air pipe or whatever it was, the ventilation pipe that you get, that they do have the ability to just turn on the steam in there.
It's useful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in case you never know.
Where you got all this spare steam from?
Yeah, just line up with steam.
Yeah, what's a steam for in terms of ventilation? Like, what's that used outside of someone being in there?
It's that dry Queensland air.
Oh, that's true.
You get the bit of steam in there. Maybe.
Love that.
It's kind of, so you're not waking up with that dry mouth.
I love being hot and covered in sweat. Yeah. I don't like it in Melbourne, when there's a dry heat. I don't like that.
I know, I hear you.
I want to be sopping wet. Sorry.
When I'm in a pipe.
When I'm in a pot.
I call that my sopping pipe. Ugh. Also, Poe kills Abraham. That fucking sucks. Yeah, he just he chokes him out. It's really horrible.
Karen tries to stab him.
Yep.
And he's unstoppable.
Jeffrey Combs has a great line here when they meet one of the cyborg guards, and he says, "They've taken a person and wired him into the mainframe."
Yeah.
Mainframe.
First mention of mainframe. Yep.
People don't say mainframe anymore.
They don't.
I wonder if mainframes are out.
I think if we're gonna make a sci-fi show one day, it's definitely
Mainframe.
called Mainframe.
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 Manfram.
Manframe.
And then there's a big fight, and Combs loses his glasses. Looks real good.
Yeah, it does.
And the glasses, which are made from actual glass, because they've fully shattered.
Yep.
Fully shattered.
It's like
both lenses.
It's like the Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. There was time now. This is also how I would die in any post-apocalyptic or fight situation.
Glasses
that's how I would die. My glasses.
Can't see anything.
My glasses fall off. I am fucked.
Yeah, and I've seen this happen to you, and you stand up in the middle of the room and shout, "I can't see anything!
Yeah.
Help!
Yeah.
Everybody look!"
Even though I can't see, I still, for some reason, don't have awareness of the fact that there are people shooting at me, and I don't think to just get on the ground and try and be low.
Yeah, or pretend to be dead.
Well, you're the opposite of those people who, like, when they lose one sense, their others become heightened. When you lose one sense, all your others get dulled as well.
Yeah.
It's a curse.
It's something I think about a lot, where I always think, if I'm at the beach or something, or I'm at the pier and I'm leaning over the water to look at the fish, I think, if my glasses fell off into the water, how would I get home?
Is that how bad your eyesight is?
I have terrible eyesight. I mean, I can, like, even so, you're probably sitting probably a meter away from me, maybe.
Just for clarity for the listener, Lisa, she doesn't realise this. She's talking to a lamp at the moment.
Oh no!
She's turned around, facing completely the opposite direction.
No. Yeah, she's now talking. She's now patting the dugong we brought, thinking that it's Andy.
Andy, your skin's gone all leathery. I mean, it's fine. I like it for you.
Sopping.
Why are you lying on the floor, Andy? Get up. We're doing a podcast. You're all blurry without my glasses, even though you're quite close to me.
It's nice that she was still patting me, though.
Yeah, well, it's nice,
I mean, that worked out great, because I was a dugong in that scenario.
You said your friend Andy was a man. You meant manatee.
Manatee.
We got our podcast mixed up. We thought that we were guesting today on Dugong On, which is where you bring a dugong on. It's a new podcast from Jess Perkins and Dave Warnicky and Matt Stewart, and it's really good.
Oh, I'll listen out for it. It sounds really interesting. I feel like I'll learn a lot from that.
Yeah. It's even more narrow themed than this one.
Yeah, thankfully John saves D-Day, even though he's flailing around without his glasses, and so they have to kind of carry him everywhere after this because he has no glasses. He can't see.
Walk.
He can't walk because he can't see. Yeah. No, it's very disorienting for him, and so they eventually. Look, I sympathise because I love Jeffrey Combs, and I sympathise with when you can't see without your glasses, and it's very, it's horrible.
I get it.
Especially when you're not wearing your glasses and you're trying to find your glasses.
Oh yeah.
And you think, where did I put them?
On
and
your head, of course.
And you have to just try and reach out, touching things that might be your glasses.
I actually really relate to what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah,
in low light, my vision is very bad, and so I can relate in low light.
I think that's common for a lot of people.
No, but
it's called darkness.
No, but I had to once.
Not people who are owls, Andy.
I was once the designated driver where I didn't have my glasses, and lots of people in the car could have driven, but I still went with the. Somebody asked me, and so I'm driving, and I don't have my glasses, and I'm clearly like. Trying to follow just the bright lights on the ground.
That's so road. Dangerous.
I was actually in rural Queensland at the time.
Oh, God.
And, but, we made it.
A few weeks ago, I accidentally drove to the supermarket. It's just a 2-minute drive from here. But I accidentally drove there with my reading glasses on. And it was a nightmare. Yeah, I have reading glasses as well. For when I'm reading. So.
Is that what they're for?
Usually.
Okay.
But sometimes I do other things with them.
Yeah.
D-Day tries to hack into Zed. Z.
Yeah, so D-Day can also do computers.
Yes.
And
So he's kind of the Donatello.
He hacks in really... He does a great job. Hacks in really well.
Yeah, he nails it.
And he downloads a virus by typing download virus into her, like, terminal command or something.
Yeah,
like
he
that.
doesn't have a USB with a virus on it. He just types in D-Day's Revenge virus.
Yeah.
And then it pops up.
I
Would
think
that it was so simple.
I think maybe back in those days you used to just put the virus on every computer. That way, if anybody ever needs to activate a virus,
That's true.
yeah, you could
Yeah.
just...
Yeah, it's kind of like how you can just, like, you know, you can go into your settings on your computer and you can turn your, like, webcam off or on, you know, as needed.
Exactly.
You know, all laptops and computers systems come with a virus.
Like
you just have to switch it on and off.
A self-destruct mechanism. Wait, and D-Day is him, so it's his virus?
Yeah. I guess he stored it somewhere on a... Maybe he stored it somewhere on a server. Maybe it's not so insane.
Maybe,
but
the idea that it's connected to the web?
To be honest, the way this operated, I was like, now this is disappointing. I preferred it when she was like, I'm going to go into a man's dream, right? And that's how this computer works.
Yeah.
Right? Then the bit where you'd see somebody literally just typing in self-destruct to the computer, enter command, yes.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's real basic.
You should be able to destroy Zed through the metaphor of dreams.
Yeah, put
like that.
put Zed in a nightmare.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you established that's how the computer worked, I'd be fine with that.
Unfortunately, though, D-Day is shot dead so many times.
Yeah, it's real bad. But what he hadn't done was press enter.
Yep, and no one else thought to do that either.
Well, did somebody do it? So it wasn't.
No, he did it.
No, it was him. Though he is dying, he is able. Everyone helps him up.
Yep.
In his last breath.
No,
He's
you
able
have
press
to.
the enter button.
You have to press enter. I can't do it. I don't know about computers.
I'm terrible with.
Don't
these
ask
things.
me. Oh, these things that don't agree with me.
I'm the most decorated captain in the history of the Black Beret, but I don't know fuck all about computers.
That was my wife, does it?
So, R.I.P. Jeffrey Combs. We must soldier on the rest of the film without him. Boo!
Slog.
But we've got Christopher Lambert, so it's fine.
We're almost done.
That leaves us with John, Karen, and Gomez. Because in the meantime, John has rescued Karen from her birth surgery.
Where they're using a thing to cut her open that is just like
an angle grinder.
A saw.
Yeah.
A little circular saw.
Yeah. You don't need that.
I don't think so.
Skin is pliable.
Yeah.
You can.
And I think you kind of got to be careful not to go too far because there's a baby in there.
Yeah. But thankfully, they all escape. They get in a big ass truck. They steal this huge truck, and they.
Cool looking truck.
It is cool. It looks a little bit like a dump truck, but you know that's what the future apparently looks like.
Trucks.
Yeah.
But they put some stuff on it. It looks cool.
But it doesn't look like a future truck. It doesn't look like
It looks a little bit
like a
future.
future truck.
Yeah.
No, but look
If
at
I
the
saw that truck on the street, I'd think that looks like a future truck.
look at the kind of like sleek, shiny, chromy kind of vehicles that are in futuristic movies. Like they're always very like.
There's not one future. You can't tell me what that in the future everything's going to be curvy. Look at Tesla's Cybertruck.
That's true.
Released.
Garbage. That's true.
I like it.
Nah.
I
No,
like
it's-
its angles.
No, it's a ridiculous shape.
I like how it's all lumpy.
I think it's because the metal is so hard you can't really bend it that much, and so that's why it's
Yeah.
just got such a simple design.
It kind of looks like a car that might have been used in like Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
Yeah, like,
game.
it's like it looks like it's an 8-bit car.
Yeah, it's a car in Minecraft. So they escape into Mexico, but what is quite obviously Australia.
They go through the sort of mesh wire fence between America and Mexico.
Yeah, so Canada, it's like full-on militarized border. Everybody's getting their guts scanned. Mexico, it's just a wire fence. It's like the sort of thing that you'd put around a basketball court.
Yeah, and it's and the fence is sort of very just leaning up against another bit of fence, so that when you drive into it, it just kind of breaks off. very easily.
Yeah. One of my favorite things when I do research for this podcast is looking at the trivia and the anachronisms and the goofs and stuff on the IMDb page because
This movie is all goofs.
well, no, you're thinking of a Goofy movie. Yeah.
I'd love to go on the goof section of the Goofy movie website. Oh, what a feast! Oh, where to start?
Too many goofs. No, there's actually a lot of really good continuity in the Goofy movie. Yeah, not in an extremely goofy movie. Nah, it's a fucking mess. But because the IMDb page has a huge amount of finicky weirdos who are uploading their thoughts into this. There isn't a lot of really specific finicky gripes about this movie, but someone has put in that while passing the supposed US-Mexican border, there are signs in English and Spanish saying that it is a crime to cross the border. However, the English sign has the word offence, OFFENCE, as it would be spelled in Australia, where the film was made.
Wow.
Suck shit, filmmakers, you fucking idiots!
Gave it away.
Oh, can't believe you didn't pick up on that while you were driving a truck through a chain link fence.
Really took me out of it.
They would have been using an Australian art department person.
Exactly.
And they couldn't see their own mistake. They were blind. They were like a fish living in water who didn't even realize they were in water.
I didn't even realize that it was spelled differently. Do Americans spell it with an S instead of a C?
No, they also spell it with a C, but we do it in a very Australian way.
Oh, okay.
Offense.
Yeah. So the truck that they find a barn. It's just so very obviously on someone's fucking farm.
Yeah.
It was good. It looked
What
nice.
a good barn.
Yeah, it was good barn. Nice old machinery.
She's giving birth. Now they're like, let's get out of this semi-clean truck and let's lay her down on the ground of a farm.
Yep.
Lay it out in a barn.
In
All
a
the
barn.
dirt in this strange
The
barn.
hay.
Hey, Gomez, go get a bucket of water from that old pump.
Yeah.
Yep. That's going to be clean, good water from that rusted over pump. Yeah, so she's going into labour on the floor. There's hay, there's old machines. I mean, I did think of you, Andy, when I saw this scene, because I thought Andy would love all of those old rusted over machines.
I loved all those old rusted machines. I was like, those are very realistic. You know what? I reckon they're even just real old machines.
Yep. Yeah, I think they literally, whoever was scouting the locations just went, that looks like an old farm that no one lives on anymore.
That looks like Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico is just littered with old barns. The truck that they've stolen, though, has a mind of its own. And it has...
Not a mind of its own. A mind of Zed's.
Yes.
Zed's mind.
It kind of like reconnects. Zed must have cleared its head.
Yeah. Was it connected to, like, its own mobile data? Or do you think there was Wi-Fi nearby that it just connected to?
I mean, in the future, they may have that sort of Google satellite internet that accesses everybody or whatever.
So the truck starts itself, and it locks in on Gomez first, and it knows instinctively that Gomez is an escaped prisoner and just mows him down.
Yeah. But he goes down in between the thing. You'd think he might survive this. I mean, getting the hit bit is probably bad.
Yeah. Well, no, he needs to die because, three's a crowd.
That's true.
They're not going to be like, oh, Karen, I love you. Oh, John, I love you and our baby. And then Gomez is just like in the background be like, hey guys, I escaped.
That baby came out of you like a burrito.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be a great, sequel sitcom. Now it's John and Karen, Gomez and the baby. And they're all living together in a barn, getting water from the pump. Every episode, they get a different amount of water from the pump. That's what you tune in for. I wonder how much water. Sometimes they end the episode. He's gone to get the water, but you don't see how much water he's got until the next episode.
Cliffhanger.
Bucket hanger.
I hate when you don't know what the water is. I hate being left in the lurch like that. Yeah, Gomez. So we are led to believe that Gomez dies immediately. The truck kind of careens around randomly for a while. It starts to go towards the barn, and John goes to try to catch it, leaving Karen in the barn. And he's like, the truck's going towards the barn, guys.
Because he lifts her up, right? He lifts her up while she's giving birth, and carries her out of the way of the truck, and then has to dump her, and then chase after her with his big arm gun.
Yes.
I didn't point this out, but when Gomez is running away from the truck, he has one of the worst running away from a truck techniques I've ever seen.
Is it because he just runs forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Runs straight as the truck comes behind him. We see seconds later the truck trying to turn around. It has a terrible turning circle.
Yeah.
Running away from a truck is like getting out of a rip. You go sideways, you go across.
Mm-hmm.
It's like running away from an alligator. They're actually quite fast, but they can't turn.
Yep. So you got to zigzag it.
You zigzag.
That's right. If you run straight directly away from a truck while it's chasing you, you're bound to get tired.
That's it. Exactly.
Just like in a rip.
I really just wanted to leave just like a little shame moment there for you,
Yeah,
Al.
yeah. I mean, that's actually like an old, like, Confucius once said kind of
Is
jokes.
it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Man who lies down on busy street
Yeah, balance
is tired.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, so you mean the pinnacle of comedy?
The pinnacle of comedy, Confucius once said.
Yeah.
Jokes.
Look, I mean, you guys are really funny, and I've enjoyed your shows in the past, but you don't have any of those Confucius say jokes, and I'm just like, that's what I pay my money for.
I came here to find out what Confucius say.
Once.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Confucius Say podcast. It's racist. So the vehicle plows into the barn, and it is such a big explosion.
He's been shooting at it and then shooting it with the flamethrower.
Yes.
It's on fire. It crashes into the barn and explodes so much. So much so that when we see the ruins of the barn at the end of the film, like in a wide shot, there is no trace of the truck.
No.
It has been blown to into its
ashes,
separate molecules.
Yeah.
I think
it's like that plane that ran into the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to it?
Oh my god.
Where'd it go? Oh, sometimes things just burn so hot. There's just so little trace of it left.
That's right. Yeah.
Actually, I didn't even notice that like you see the ashes and the bits of wood and stuff of the barn, but there's just literally no trace of the truck anymore. And it's a huge truck.
Can't burn wooden beams. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Truck fuel wooden beams.
And he's got some weird theories about the ending of this film. John is obviously devastated. He's so...
Just assumes Karen's exploded.
And the baby, he's so sad. But then he hears a baby crying, and he's like, wait, I've got a
Maybe
baby.
that's my baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty desolate out here. What are the odds?
Hope there's not another family out here stealing our water.
That's a season finale when they fight over the pump. So he goes and he finds Karen and their baby behind a big rusty thing. Not clear what it is.
It's an old sort of boiler tractor, old steam tractor of some kind, I reckon.
I can't believe you picked that up.
There was a huge explosion, and they weren't affected by the shockwave or anything like that from that. The baby, never seen a more calm baby in my life, covered in blood.
Yep, totally fine. Yeah. You know how babies are always perfectly fine straight out of the womb?
It is interesting that there is no... This isn't one of those movies where, like... And at the end, we're given hope that the system is going to change.
No.
Literally, the best you can hope for is most of the prisoners had to die in some horrible way, and our guy got away. But not only the main characters that we met, but like all those guys who were in that elevator that crashed for no reason, just like mass deaths, and then the system remains, and one baby goes free. When
we left the prison, though, thanks to D-Day's virus, it just kind of took the prison into chaos. So nothing, like, it wasn't burning down or being destroyed. Everyone, like, all the doors had opened and stuff, and so everybody was out of their cells, and, they were just kind of running amok. But it's not really clear what the long term of that was going to be. It's not really clear if maybe the prison guards got them under control and everything went back to normal.
I think there were reinforcements being sent, I think.
Must have been.
The Mentel Corporation's going to come down on this like a ton of prisoners in a falling elevator.
One of my favorite scenes that shows, I guess, like the sort of the pencil pushing nature of the staff at this prison is when John goes to rescue Karen from the invasive birth procedure, and there's 3 doctors in masks standing around her, and John just comes in with his gun arm and says, "Let her go," and he picks her up and takes her, and the doctors just stand there. I mean, they are as calm as very calm people. They put up zero fight. So it's kind of like, this is a 9-to-5 job for me.
I guess so.
I have no emotional investment in the prison. Take her, don't take her. I'm just doing my job.
I'm not passionate about stealing babies from the wombs of female prisoners. It's not... I have my hobbies. If it were up to me, I'd be, doing my watercolors. That's not my job. That's not the... This is just a gig.
Yep, this is just paying the bills, and it's like, well, is it ethical? Who's to say? I got to put bread on the table.
We all have to make compromises.
And that's the end.
That's the end of the film.
That's the end of the film.
Roll credits.
Yeah.
As far as sci-fi films, and especially films that I've watched for this podcast, especially comparatively to the movies I've watched for this podcast, I think it's fun and silly. Obviously,
it is silly.
And everyone in it is doing a bang up job.
Yeah,
especially Christopher Lambert, just doing his fucking darndest to be the big action hero guy. He's doing a good job.
Yeah, it's like, look, there's lots of concepts in there. I love concepts.
Love a concept.
There's a lot of dumb action.
How do you feel about themes?
You know what? I'm not as big as on themes.
Okay, that's fair.
I love a concept, and I love having it explained to me by the characters.
That's so helpful. It just takes a lot of the legwork out, all the brain work.
Yeah, I think this is one of those movies where maybe if you'd spent an extra 2 days on the script, probably you could have just made it flow a little bit more, but I understand, like, I think someone like Stuart Gordon's probably got a lot of ideas and he's just cramming them all in there.
That is what he does. And that's one of the things I like about him. Yeah, the writers of this did not have like a huge backlog. They had a few writing credits, they had a few production credits. So yeah, maybe with like really experienced screenwriters, you might have had more of a Total Recall thing. But who's to say? Yeah. Importantly, what did we think of Jeffrey Combs' performance? And Alasdair, now knowing which one he was, what did you think of him?
I gotta say, he was probably one of my favorite characters in the whole thing.
Yeah, me too.
Because you see him at first and you go, look at this wacko, and then you go, oh, it's fun that they got that guy, and I don't know what his career came to, but
just some extra,
some wacko extra, and I gotta say, Combs, I thought it was comtastic.
I'm gonna say that he made me a little uncomfortable. I didn't like his glasses being so grubby and smeary all the time. Wasn't pleasant to look at him. When his glasses fell off at the end, I was happy. Then he died.
Do you think that there's a lot of
Is that too insightful a comment?
No, that's fine. But I guess I wonder what you think the capacity for people to clean their glasses is in prison.
Everything else looked pretty clean.
I don't think you're given a lot of those little bottles of lens cleaner you get at Specsavers, or the little.
You can do the huff and wipe.
The half and wipe depends on the shirt. If you've got an abrasive material in your shirt, then it's going to scratch your glasses up.
Cotton, you're going to be all right.
I don't know. I don't reckon those prison outfits are 100% cotton. I reckon they're polyester at best.
Yeah, no, I think he was good. Yeah, he was good. Probably the top 3 actors in the film. Yeah,
I'll tell him. I'll let him know.
Old mate, shave your chin.
Abraham.
Poe,
Kurtwood Smith. Yeah.
Probably our mate. Yeah.
Combs. Yeah, no, I'd put him as number 2. I thought Poe was overdoing it, and I didn't like that he kind of had the name of a sort of like a Vietnamese person.
Well, yeah, I wonder if it was meant to be Poe, P-O, or if it was P-O-E, like Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, there's no way of knowing.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, if it was P-O-E, that would be yet another link in a Jeffrey Combs film to Edgar Allan Poe related things. Big Edgar Allan Poe fan is Jeffrey Combs. Yes, so he plays Edgar Allan Poe in an episode of Masters of Horror. It was like a little half-hour thing where it's like an imagined story based on the Black Cat Edgar Allan Poe story, and then based on that, I think Stuart Gordon actually directed him in a one-man show where he told the life of Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which, I mean, you can see little clips of that online as well. He's actually quite good, he wears a lot of like the makeup and stuff.
Kurtwood Smith, I think he's good in horror because he's got a little face on a big head. And I think that's
the key to horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is a creepy thing to contend with. In
terms of somebody who's seen a lot of Jeffrey Combs movies,
I have, yes.
His performance in this one compared to those ones, how many out of 5 Combs? How many Combs would you give him?
I'm gonna go 4 Combs.
Yeah.
Because even though, and obviously through no fault of his own, the character is a bit one note, but that's more due to the script. But he's having so much fun with it, and he's quite good at, and I always say it, he's good at playing a bit crazy. the roles that are always the most interesting of his, is the one where he's like let loose, just let him run amok with the role. The roles I've seen him where he's just playing like someone's dad. I'm like, I don't believe this. I don't believe him to be a person's dad. A normal man with a job in a suit. Yeah. Please get out of here. You're talking to the Reanimator.
I want one of his career. I want his career. I only know this movie about him, but I really want his career. Do you think I could become an actor?
I think you would be a great character actor, Alasdair.
I go like this. I go, hello everybody.
Yep.
I'm here to operate.
Oh God, no!
That's one of my characters.
Whatever it is, I hate it.
Pirate Doctor.
And I'd love to see it in a horror movie.
Right.
Yeah, right. But you're gonna have to have some more other characters. You got to diversify.
Oh no! Where have all my children gone?
Oh no! The Victorian era matron of a castle.
Yes.
Oh
dear me! My husband's gonna kill me.
Oh, Aunt Esme, nice to meet you. Andy, do you have any characters in your arsenal?
No.
Well, then you're gonna have to be the straight man. Alasdair's gonna be the character actor.
Perfect.
So you're gonna have a better.
Romp around me.
You're gonna have a more profitable mainstream career, but Alasdair's gonna do a lot of really much loved cult hits.
Yeah,
Profitable mainstream.
okay, as long as I'm making some money.
Well, thank you for joining me in this strange and wondrous journey, guys.
Thank you, Dave, for bringing us into your universe.
I'm so glad to have people to share the love of Jeffrey Combs.
He's still alive?
Yes, very much so. Still alive
acting?
And working, yes.
Yeah.
He is a very prolific actor. So what do you guys want to plug? Go on then.
We're going to plug everything. We're going to plug Comedy Festival show, if this comes out before Comedy Festival. Teleport, come and see us at Melbourne Comedy Festival in 2021 if you're alive at that time.
Absolutely. You can come and see, you can download our podcast to in the Think Tank, or you can download our new podcast from the ABC, The Pop Test, where we do science comedy quiz with comedian people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Both of those podcasts are very good. Yeah, Two in the Think Tank is a bit more loosey goosey, isn't it?
It's just us coming up with sketch ideas.
Yeah,
ideas for like this movie is something almost that we would come up with.
Yeah, 276 episodes so far that you can get into.
Oh.
Only 2 of them are over 11 hours long. So.
Only 2? Well, that's barely a day's worth.
Yeah.
You can also follow the podcast on the socials on @ReanimatesPod. At time of recording, I'm getting some really fucking sick podcast art that I'm really looking forward to showing everybody. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Combs out.